Hello everyone, if this is your first talk with us today, then welcome to the Sales Enablement Festival. And for those of you who've already been tuning in to our selection of talks, welcome back. We have so much more amazing content heading your way, but before we get back into it, we just want to take this moment to thank all our amazing sponsors and partners for bringing this virtual festival to life. We also want to thank you, our attendees, for joining us today. If you're enjoying the content from the festival, be sure to check out the SEC membership plans. It's here where you can gain access to exclusive content, research and frameworks, and discounts to things like our brand new workshop series and so much more. You can find more information about this over on the Sales Enablement Collective website. Don't forget to have your questions ready for the live Q&A at the end of this talk, as you'll have the chance to put them to the experts themselves. That's everything from me, so all that's left to do is sit back and enjoy this next talk.
Hi, I'm Steve Gobert, Global Sales Enablement Lead for the digital arm of GE Healthcare. And today I'm going to be talking about considerations for launching a sales enablement platform. So why do I have this knowledge, and what can I impart to you in regard to this subject? So I've been in sales enablement for the past 10 years with a number of different organizations. And then prior to that, I spent another 10 years in an instructional design role. So I really have a deep understanding of adult learning, how to manage training, how to motivate sales. I have the sales mindset. I used to be a field sales director for the Illinois Lottery. So wide amount of varied experience. But most importantly for this discussion, I was a part of two major launches of sales enablement platforms for two very large companies. So with that, let's get to the content. So we only got 20 minutes here, and I know we have some time for Q&A, which I'll answer in the chat. But today what I'm going to cover is really the criteria or considerations for selecting a sales enablement platform, what to consider when mapping out the design before you implement and launch, some adoption best practices. Adoption is key. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about, a part of a sales enablement platform could be sales training, so onboarding and just-in-time resources. So you're thinking about selecting a sales enablement program, or, hey, you have one, it's not so great, let's take a look at what's out there. So I pulled a list from G2.com of the top 10 sales enablement software offerings. Now, I don't understand their whole criteria for this, but you'll notice in the upper right, I included some logos of, 4 major sales enablement platforms that I am personally experienced using. So Showpad, HighSpot, Seismic, and Big Can. But I would encourage you to go out to G2, take a look at what's out there, what people are saying about each one of these platforms, and that will give you an idea of what the capabilities of each one of these offerings have. So with that, what are the capabilities? Now, again, this is a list that in my mind is most important, but there are a varied amount of different sales excellence programs out there. So some, are only focused on engagement. So you can do mass emails and dialing and all that. Some, layer in on your CRM and help your salespeople move through an opportunity. But really what I'm going to focus on here really is giving your sales force a self-service way to engage with clients, ramp up their knowledge, and then be able to present and do their best in client meetings. So content management is obviously critical, and I'm in the healthcare industry, so we have to be compliant. But one of the solutions that this type of software will solve for you is keeping your salespeople in compliance with what they send out to clients. it, in the past, whether it was printed material that got old, or a lot of times you would put your media on a shared site, and then people would download it and put it on their hard drive. So with this type of solution, what we say and what it can do is that you don't save anything to your hard drive. You use what's in the platform, and then you'll always be in compliance. So, and then analytics. I happen to sit within marketing, and both sales, marketing, commercial excellence all want metrics on the usage of a client engagement platform like this. So yes, the obvious is sales and what they do and how often they reach out to clients and the response rates and all that good stuff. But for marketing, who's producing the content in most cases, or it might be product management, you will have to consider analytics around views and usage of the content itself. So, for example, we have maybe 10 or 12 different content types, one being, a case study. If we find that nobody is using a case study and it's not being sent out, of course, we'll want to get some feedback as to why is that happening. But if sales says it's no good and we never use case studies, then on the marketing side, we can, take those dollars that were set aside for producing that type of content and move it over to something that they are using. So analytics is incredibly important and something you should consider. In this COVID environment, we're not doing as much face-to-face, but presentation here is something I listed because some of these platforms really has a nice way for you to show content from the platform itself. So what do I mean by that? Like in the past, if we had a face-to-face meeting and we're in a meeting room, we pull up a PowerPoint and start running and blah, blah, blah. I came from a background where I worked with a lot of pharmaceutical reps, and in their situation, they would have face-to-face conversations with physicians and different medical professionals, and they would present using their iPad. So again, something to consider when selecting your platform of choice. Presentation, if your sales force is doing a lot of that face-to-face, then you'll want that in there. Content creation, like I mentioned, our marketing, directors create the content, and what it is critical is it easy to upload content? Are you able to tag it? Are you able to categorize it? And then be very transparent about when things have been updated and when they were originally published. So content creation, and I would expand that out into maybe it's a in-house video editor. So I used Brainshark in the past, and it was a very slick way for our sales leadership to create videos without having to have software on their hard drive. Knowledge management, I will go into a more deeper dive at the end of this presentation. But again, like I say, this is an option with a lot of the sales enablement platforms. And so, if you're onboarding or, there's new product introductions that you want to train to just the sales team, it's a much easier way to get that content out there rather than going through your corporate LMS and compliance and all that other good stuff. My point of view there is a lot of times with sales training, the training itself is only good for about 3 to 6 months, and then you need to take it down and create a new version. So, it's something to consider. Templates, I'm going to skip this. I mean, so, if you're starting from scratch and you've never, embarked on this journey and use a sales enablement platform, sometimes templates for creating pages or content or whatever it is, like playbooks, is very helpful. So again, something to consider. Another critical area is the CRM integration. So we're a Salesforce shop. The sales enablement platform that we use talks to Salesforce, and there's a couple things there. Basically what you want it to do is give your salesperson suggestions on content to use while they're working a particular type of opportunity based on the product line or the solution. And then also you may want to memorialize every interaction or outreach message that is sent from the sales enablement platform in your CRM in the opportunity record. So another thing to consider. Feedback. Oh my gosh. So again, as you may know, there's always a somewhat of a disconnect between marketing and sales. So if there is a feedback mechanism for sales to go directly to the author and say, hey, this worked really well, or this doesn't work at all, or we need to change this, that will help close the gap between marketing and sales. And then also, I think what is incredibly important is peer testimonials. If you have this functionality in your platform that allows salespeople to blast out, hey, I use this in this particular situation, it worked really well, I highly suggest this presentation or video, that can really be impactful and drive usage. The last three, are technical. So tracking, when you send out these communications, you can get tracking on whether the person has looked at the email or clicked on the link that you've put into your email. And again, when I talk about self-service, salespeople don't have to rely on reports coming out or whatever. They'll get instant notifications that, hey, this person has looked at this content, or maybe they haven't, and then they need to follow up a second time. So tracking is a high value consideration in my mind. Search, I'm not going to get into, but I think really at the end of the day, you don't want salespeople wasting time trying to find content. So the search capabilities need to be easy to use and easy for your content to fall into the right categories. So again, that's a consideration. And then lastly, mobile. So in this day and age, everybody has a mobile phone or an iPad, and it really is important to have this functionality so that your salespeople can prep right before a conversation with a client, or show content right in the moment, or send content right after they have this discussion with someone. So mobile is really important. The last area here, so I'm just focusing on sales enablement platforms. Now, there's sales engagement, which is more what I would call mass marketing. There's, certain solutions that sit on a Salesforce that helps your reps work an opportunity. There's sales coaching solutions, and then social and marketing automation. So I'm not talking about those solutions, but just know there's all kinds of sales acceleration tools, and those are some of the categories. So mapping out your platform design. Highly encourage you to get a bunch of sticky notes and then put things into categories. So your solution types, your products, your personas, who are you targeting, your customer journey, if that's something that you use, map out your customer journey. Sales stages are very important, and so what do I mean by that? So when you are maybe in stage one and building awareness, then you would only suggest to your rep that they use thought leadership or one pagers or here are some videos. And then as they progress the deal, you can suggest more impactful presentations that will really drive revenue. So map out your sales stages and content types. In our situation, we had about 15 different content types, and when we looked at it as a whole, group, we decided that some of the categories were similar, that we needed to boil it down, and the more that you can get down to a manageable amount of content types, the better, and it will certainly help you implement and launch easier, and then also manage it in a more effective way. Adoption best practices. Like I mentioned, I was a part of 2 major launches, and I always chuckled at, or mentioned that you have to tell a salesperson something 7 times. And I'm not talking about, what their sales figures were. I'm talking about anything that's changing, And so I'll get into that in a moment. But the first item that I put here that in my mind is the most critical is sales leadership buy-in. Again, in my situation, it's marketing that's providing the sales enablement platform, but it's the sales leaders that are ultimately driving the usage and the adoption of the platform itself. So if you don't have that, then, as you know, salespeople will say, well, this is optional, or, yeah, this is a nice to have. I don't, whatever. I'll use it if I want to. No, it's mission critical. You need to use it. And then we're going to track it and, provide the sales leadership analytics and metrics on your usage. So that will really, like I say, drive adoption the most effectively. Now, when I launched our latest sales enablement platform, what I did was every 2 weeks I would have a open webinar that was 1 hour in length, and anyone in sales or field marketing could join the call and then ask questions. And I typically would start out with maybe 5 minutes of tips and tricks, and then just segue right into whatever questions the sales team may have. So a lot of times you will get use cases out of these type of open Q&A sessions, and the more that you can develop for use cases, the better you will be able to promote the platform itself. So there's some obvious ones out there, but even in my situation, there were all kinds of use cases that I didn't even think of, and our salespeople, got that to me, and I help, evangelize that throughout the organization. And just like I mentioned here, peer testimonials are very impactful. Of course, I can. Steve, and hey, he's a sales enablement person and he's telling me to do this, but I don't know if I believe it or not. But if I have a salesperson saying to the rest of the group, hey, this is how I used it effectively, that's really going to drive adoption as well. Another few neat things to do are leaderboards, who's using it the most and the most effectively. And then having some kind of contest, whether it's a monthly contest to see how often or effectively your salespeople use. It's great to reward people. That will, of course, motivate them, and I highly suggest it. So, and then lastly, hey, try to figure out what the ROI metric is for your sales enablement platform. Is it driving sales? Is it closing opportunities? Are there more leads because of the platform itself? So think about that, and then whatever you can do to develop that ROI metric, the more impactful it will be, and of course it will drive adoption. So lastly, I'm going to talk about onboarding and just-in-time resources. Like I said, most of these sales enablement platforms have at least a way to have, internal-facing content available to your sales reps. But you may also want to have a very specialized sales onboarding program right in your sales enablement tool. And it goes beyond onboarding. It's coaching, it's new product introductions. So with that in mind, what you want it to do is assign, track, and assess the salesperson's knowledge of whatever the subject is. And then, so typically, let's say we go through a 30, 60, 90-day plan with someone. You can put that plan right into the sales enablement platform. And then, once they get to the, let's say, 60-day mark, you may have a certification track for 60 to 90 days that says, okay, once you get through this certification track and you pass the test, you can start selling. And again, it's a really motivational way to get salespeople educated and then outselling in an efficient manner. Before I continue any further, on the right, I've listed some solutions that are very sales, training oriented. I had the pleasure of going through a few courses led by Eli Cohen in Saleshood. Saleshood is really a specialized solution that encompasses coaching and training and all that good stuff in getting your sales team prepped up. And also I'll mention that if you have not read the book Enablement Mastery by Eli, I highly suggest it, especially if you're kind of on the fence or not sure about sales enablement. Highly suggest Enablement Masteries. So the rest of this, so if you are a fan of Lessonly, just know that Seismic acquired Lessonly. I used BrainShark 10 years ago, and it was just recently acquired by Big Tin Can. And then LearnCore, excellent learning platform, was acquired by Showpad. So at least with these three solutions, you have really market-tested learning solutions that are integrated right into the solution itself. So, just to tie a bow on this, what you want to do is make sure your salespeople are prepped to have the right conversations. So having internal-facing documentation and training in your platform is very helpful. And you also want to reinforce, the process right in your client engagement platform. So that's what I would say is some good tips on what to consider if you want to integrate a sales training platform within your sales enablement platform. And a lot of times it's optional, but sometimes it's included. So it's something to consider. So that's a picture of my daughter and a quote, life is a journey. And I'm sure this will be a journey for you if you're considering a sales enablement platform or you're just new to sales enablement. I can say that there's a lot of great information out there. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just search for Steve Gobert. And I'm more than happy to connect with you and talk to you and share my experience with sales enablement. So to wrap up, begin with your sales user in mind to determine the requirements for the sales enablement platform that you're going to select. Definitely, do the upfront work to categorize and map out your content before you implement. It'll make the whole process go a lot easier. And then evangelize the launch in multiple channels. So, what does that mean? Don't do just webinars. Do videos, webinars, emails, open office hours, contests, whatever. Look at many different ways to get the message out and drive adoption. And then reward the field for peer sharing. Peer testimonials are very impactful. Then lastly, as I just mentioned earlier, sales onboarding and ongoing training can be deployed and tracked in a sales enablement platform. So that's it. I appreciate the Sales Enablement Collective for giving me this opportunity to speak to you, and I wish you all the best in what you're trying to accomplish in your organization. Thanks. Take care.